So again, two branches closing $4 million each a month. Okay, one branch loses 5,000. The other branch makes 16,000. I am going to show this to you in a format. When you realize it, you're going to say, oh man, the problem's right here. By the time we get done, folks, and this is something somebody said to me the other day, they said, Tom, you just improve our sensories. And I said, well, I don't know what you mean by that, but go ahead. And he says, I could always open the refrigerator up and I could smell there was something rotten in there, but it would take me a long time to figure out what was rotten. After I get done with you, I'd open the refrigerator. I'd smell there was something rotten. I'd look in the bottom right-hand corner. I said, it's the grapefruit right there. And I think that's what we have the ability to be able to do once you see it. So I think when you realize this, you'll look at it, you'll go kudos. It's like, holy cow. So here's branch one. So this is March of 2023. The top business blueprint. Now this is taking the complex P&L, 3 pages, 4 pages, combined with a production report, get all the residuals or push it off to the side. Once you've input this into our system, you're golden. This number is 264. So the top business blood pressure is 264. The bottom business blood pressure, this is all the revenue that you took in. The bottom business blood pressure is 104. That's the cost to get a loan out the back door, except for LO comp. CPI, remember, A minus B equals C. 264 minus 104, it's 160. The LO comp in basis points in this example for the first branch is 120. I take 160 now, minus 120, we had 40 basis points in profit. I take 40 basis points in profit, multiplied by 4 million, comes out to $16,000. I just rounded it down to the number. How this 45% comes down, as you start to realize it, you just take the LO comp and divide it by the top business blood pressure number. That'll give you a percentage of LO comp you're paying out. So if the model's broken, we can look at it and we can say, if that number is 80%, you can't sustain a business model where you're paying out 80% of $1 coming in the door. No restaurant can sustain it. No corporation can sustain it. No mortgage banker and no branch at a mortgage banker office. Trust me on this, folks. I did some investigation on some of these companies that went down. This was a trigger that happened right there. So now let's look at the second branch. Second branch is B102. This is the one that lost 5,000. I think you can kind of see that. The top business blood pressure is 285. The bottom business blood pressure is 168. I'm going to show you how they compare in a minute. 117, A minus B equals 117. They paid out. So remember, CPI is all the money you have left over to pay the loan officers and for profit. If I'm paying out 130 in LO comp, I don't have enough to even pay the LO. So now I got to go negative on my basis points as far as the loss is concerned. Take 13 basis points multiplied by 4,999,980. It equals $5,000 in a loss. Let's look at them side by side. Let's just compare. The branch who made money actually generated less revenue by 21 basis points. This branch brought in 285 in revenue. This branch only brought in 264. Where the rubber meets the road here is that you can see when you compare the two of these, this branch 102 has got a whole lot of expenses. I'll give you my summary at the end. They only have 117 left over to pay 130. They lose 13 basis points. They did almost exactly the same number. There's a $21,000 swing in between the two. So now you start to realize, like, holy cow. So if I'm going to troubleshoot this with you, and I'm going to teach you how to troubleshoot this if you join our program, is how do you do this? Its bottom line is this particular company. So I can tell you what's happening here. This company was probably built for a $7 or an $8 million branch based upon the expenses. And ultimately they didn't right size the business to what the volume is going to be. Now, ultimately, this might have been built for $8 million because they were doing it during Refi Mania, right? And that number would be half. 168. If you look at, you double the volume, this number goes in half. So it would have been 84 basis points to get a loan out the back door. Well, 84 onto that 13, they'd have made, 71 basis points in profit. High five me, right? That's where it's at. But this is the issue. So now we need to look into the P&L to say, where are our expenses out of control, right? Do we have unused capacity for processing? Ultimately, that's the killer. That's the widow maker, right? You start to realize that. Sometimes you've got a processor. If you're only bringing in 7 loans a month and you got a processor who can do 20, that 13, the 13 loan unused capacity is the one that's going to strangle you on the bottom number. Now, we can get in all the details as far as how do you do it. She's been with me a while. She's my sister-in-law. I'm not going to get into all that, but ultimately you've got 2 choices. You either fix this number or you accept the fact that you're going to lose $5,000 each and every month. Folks, I'm okay if you want to accept that you're losing $5,000. I'm not okay if you don't put it into this format. I realize I troubleshooted it. There's nothing I can do. I got a lease on a building that I don't use anymore, and that's killing me right now. I don't know what that number is, but ultimately we know this is the area that we have to fix. Everything else is in line. This is the area we have to fix. So I've got to prescribe for you what needs to lower your blood pressure. So branch 102, too many people, not enough loans. That would be my conclusion.